All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is African Portal Radio TV International, coming to you live and direct from our studio here in Pretoria, South Africa. It's another Saturday, and it's a good morning here in Pretoria, South Africa. The last Saturday in the month of March, and we thank God for giving us privilege to be alive. It's a great month, and a lot of things have been happening. And you know, my guest in the studio is not new to this house anymore. Is one of the part of this great home, and is also a leader in the community, doing so well. We are getting ready for his 60th birthday in July, and it's going to be a great celebration. And before that, we want to make sure that we impact the community and also tap from his knowledge as one of the senior colleagues, a media lawyer, and also a journalist. Sir, good morning to you, and welcome to the African Portal.
Good morning, Joshua. How are you? And good morning to your listeners.
Yes, this is like a sensational program which coming up every Saturday to sensitize our community and also to address some issues that is happening in our community. Let's look at the last week. There's a lot of things happening in the social media and also in the mainstream media, talking about the Nigeria king in Eastern Cape, that is in East London. And a lot of people have been talking about it, but we see that it's very important we also address this issue. What is your take about it, and what do you think we need to do going forward?
Okay, look, as far as I'm concerned, when you are in Rome, you must behave like the Romans. I am fully aware that, I've been in South Africa for more than 2 decades. And I've also lived in England for 10 years. So my total experience outside Nigeria is about 35 years. So, and in those times, I have seen, especially the Igbo tribe, I've seen them celebrate their culture in very flamboyant ways. I have seen, especially in South Africa, I've seen folks call themselves Igwe of South Africa, Igwe Indigbo. Now, South Africa, which means the Igwe of Igbos in South Africa. I've seen a lot of titled men who move around with all the trappings of titled men or chiefs. They have Oanes Indigbo, for example. They have Nzenaozo. So there are a lot of chiefs here. Now, I haven't really paid much notice to it until this furore of an Igbo king in East London. And interestingly, I saw a video on some of my fellow community leaders' WhatsApp profile. I saw a video, I saw some of the gentlemen, I know them from my previous life as a key political party chieftain of a diaspora chapter called the People's Democratic Party of Nigeria. So I saw these pictures of this gentleman at the beachside. They were having fun. They all had their cell phones. I was even concerned maybe the cell phone might fall into the beach. They all had their cell phones and they were standing in the beach. Anyway, so what my take is, look, from all intents and purposes, I don't think that those guys in East London, when they say Igwe, or a king of Igbos, I don't think they wanted to take over any territory, but I think it's in consistent format with what they have been doing before. Igwe of Cresta, Igwe of Gauteng, Igwe South Africa, and so on, right? So, of course, to South Africans, they wouldn't understand because I suspect that they are not part of us. So they wouldn't have been subject to this kinds of experiences before. But what is interesting is that I saw an interview that was done by the acting High Commissioner, Ambassador Temitokwe Ajayi, just a few days ago on Newsroom Africa, where he castigated these guys who who organized the ceremony, says they're no king, that the South Africans should not take them seriously. They should even not recognize this person, and they should ignore this person. And then I've now seen a press release that was sent to me by the same High Commission, or the High Commission, saying nice things about Igbo culture and all of that and all of that and all of that. So I'm a little bit confused now as to which one is which. But from where I'm sitting, I think it wasn't well managed. From especially when the thing went viral, I don't think it was well managed. I think those who spoke didn't really speak in a manner that helped the issue at all. And I think what people should be mindful of is that at least the African people, whether it's our food, whether it's our culture, we like to carry it around. And sometimes we will get into trouble. I'm sure you are fully aware of Nigerians carrying food around. People beg at the airport and they have excess luggage. It's full of food because they don't want to pay a lot of money, or they can't find it in London or in New York. And sometimes the food doesn't smell great. And then sniffer dogs will arrive at the airport and be harassing people's luggage at the airport because people want to carry their food. So I think Africans, not just Nigerians, I think Africans, we want to duplicate every experience that we have enjoyed back in our countries. So when we move abroad, we forget that we're no longer at home. So that's my take on it. We need to tone it down a little bit, or ask for permission, or before we go on a journey of pomp and pageantry and cultural display in another man's land.
Thank you very much for that clarity. Let's look at the future problem of this kind of a thing. What do we need to do differently to make sure that this kind of problem doesn't happen again in the future? Do we need to have a kind of press conference ahead of the event, or do we need to do a kind of enlighten people about our culture? What do we need to do for us to do this kind of event in going forward?
Look, I think first of all, I believe that the letter from the High Commission, which I suspect, if you don't have a copy, I'll share one with you. I think that letter is a very powerful letter that helps to explain to South Africans why people, especially those who did this Igwe ceremony in East London, would have done what they did. They explained marriage ceremony, Iriji, the New Year festival. I'm sure you know that the Igbos, they celebrate the New Year festival here heavily. And I've been to one of them where they even have live chickens running around in the entertainment venue. So I think such a letter should be widely circulated. Our people shouldn't rely only on the government or the embassy to circulate that letter. I am going to circulate that letter as widely as I can, globally if I have to, because this thing has happened in Ghana recently. It was a big problem in Ghana less than a year ago, and now it's happening again in South Africa. It's going to happen somewhere else, because each country where Nigerians are, as Nigerians deepen their experiences there and their stay, they will want to practice their culture. And also what I found is, what I have to tell South Africans especially is this: I think South Africans don't know enough about us, and we know too much about South Africans. I think that we need to reduce that knowledge inequality between ourselves and our hosts. South Africans need to read a little bit more about our country. Nigeria, we have 500 languages, 350 ethnic groups. We have 36 provinces and the Federal Capital Territory. There are 3 major languages, as has been expressed, although the percentages were not shown in that document, that letter from the High Commission. The Igbos are 18%, the Hausa Fulani are 29%, and the Yorubas are 21%. And the Igbos are in the interland, as we call it. Interland means the Igbos are largely, they don't have the same kind of access to the sea that the South will have, the Niger Delta or the Yorubas of the Southwest. And the North is totally cut off from the sea. The North is very arid, almost desert-like. So also, I think this is an opportunity for Nigerians to educate South Africans about our history, about our culture, our diversity. Nigeria is a very diverse country. We have, I think, for about 50% Muslim, 40% Christian, 10% non-believers. Some of them worship traditional forms of worship. We are different, but we have commonalities. But some cultures in Nigeria are totally different. And I'm sure even in South Africa, there's divergence between Sutu culture and Zulu culture. So this is an opportunity for us to educate our hosts about who we are. And I don't think we've done that.
All right. So, what avenue do we need to use to do this? Because we believe that having all this cultural event is one of the way to introduce ourselves to our community or to our host. What do we need to do? How can we be able to educate South Africa more about Nigeria? And plus, Nigeria used to be in a lot of bad book of every other people, especially where they live. People seems to have a kind of beef with them, like Nigerians just being a kind of person that people just don't want to like. They don't like them, or they want to question what they do. What caused this, and what do we need to do in going forward?
Okay, well, look, first of all, if you want to educate people, you have to use the media. You can't educate people by, not reaching out to them. You have to communicate to them in the language they understand, in the media that is accessible. Most people are on TikTok. The younger people, maybe through TikTok, social media being Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So that's one platform. You can also, if you have deep pockets, you can use the radio and television, but that will cost you a lot of money. But you can still access those platforms through some shows that are specific to Africans, whether it's human interest stories. You can go in there and use that platform. But also, one can use, most people are on WhatsApp. So even if you send a WhatsApp to your status, you put it on your status, these are the major tribes in Nigeria, these are the cultural things, Agugu Festival, Eyo in Yoruba land, or whatever you want to share. We can be educating people. That's why you have a WhatsApp status. I believe that you put things on your status every day. So you can also, bring some content around culture, talk about, how we became one country. Northern Nigeria and Southern Nigeria, they were protectorates of the British. And in 1914, there was an amalgamation by Lord Frederick Lugard. And Lord Frederick Lugard was our Governor General, the first Governor General of a combined Nigeria from 1914 to, I think 1922 or thereabout, or 1918. We can always check that. So that's one. Now, in terms of our image, look, Nigeria's image didn't start getting bad today. It started gradually. If you remember a story in London, 1982, I think, where a gentleman forgot £42,000 in a telephone booth. Can you imagine forgetting £42,000 in a telephone booth where you go and use coins to make phone call? You use about, little money to make phone call. And it was a Nigerian, a black man in the UK that left £42,000 in a telephone booth. The gentleman's name was Alhaji Abubakar Alhaji. And if you recall again, in 1984, our former president, who was then military general, a gentleman by the name of Muhammadu Buhari, he tried to kidnap our immediate past transport minister, Alhaji Umaru Diko. In fact, they had kidnapped the minister and put him in a crate airport to deport him to Nigeria. But fortunately for him, able to stop that kidnap from happening. So this man had allegedly stolen pounds at the time. So when you look at these examples I've given you, Mari Diko saga, £6 billion he was alleged to have stolen as a minister. And then you had Alhaji Abubakar Alhaji, who was also some top government official. Now, look at those years ago, 1982, 1984. Nigeria was still very, very solid. A lot of Nigerians were not being caught for drugs or fraud or human trafficking at that time. But our image started to get worse as our economic began to decline as we ran into structural adjustment program. If you remember the structural adjustment program of General Ibrahim Babangida that sapped the lives out of Nigerians, the way Nigerians had to start queuing up for essential commodities like vegetable oil and things like that. That happened in the 80s under General Babangida. So South Africans need to be aware that it was the economic decline, the very steep economic decline of Nigeria that forced Nigerians to start first, A, running away from the country, and B, because of the pressure back home as a Nigerian, if you don't have any money, your life will be miserable. If you're working even as a cleaner abroad and you don't send money home, you will be treated as a pariah. So a lot of Nigerians are under pressure to send money home to their family, to their loved ones, whether they have it or not. That's why many Nigerians, young Nigerians, have high blood pressure and they're suffering from all sorts of psychological trauma because of the pressure that you must send money home, or you must build a house, or you must have a business, or you must have land or whatever. So these are the things that sometimes force some of our people to join bad company, and sometimes they're vulnerable to crime. And so we have to sympathize with Nigerians who are arrested for crime, especially abroad, because it's the pressure from the society. Sometimes it's the fake life also that many of our people resort to. Pretense, pretending to be rich, borrowing money from a bank and showing off and, buying expensive cars. So those pressures are the ones that lay the foundation for the types of crime that some of our people find themselves committing. So it's quite sad, but we have to continue to pray for young people of Nigerian extraction to stay focused and avoid the life of crime, because crime never pays. Crime does not pay, and it's damaging Nigeria's image, whether it's Boko Haram or the kidnappers or the 419ers or the fraudsters or the human traffickers. They're destroying the beautiful brand called Nigeria. But there's still a little bit of hope, because most Nigerians are not thieves. So, and the few that are thieves, I think their numbers will reduce if there's prosecution. But I think also sometimes you wonder whether people really are serious about prosecuting thieves.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone, joining us. If you are watching this, it's coming to you from the African Portal Radio. This is Weekend Extra, coming to you live and direct from our studio here in Pretoria, South Africa. And I really appreciate those of you that you are sharing this program. Those of you that you are actually watching us on YouTube, on Facebook, and also on other social media, we really appreciate it. Honorable Omotola, I can see that your line is freezing, but I can hear you clearly. Let's look at what you just mentioned now. Sympathize with the people doing crime. Can you elaborate that a bit? I don't seem to get that.
I use the word sympathize intentionally. What I'm saying is, for example, if you're a parent and you have a child who's about 12 or 13 years old and the child commits a crime, firstly, as a minor, the child will not be treated like an adult. So the crime, even though it may be a serious crime, but the child is not, for example, going to be taken to a maximum prison because it's a minor. But also you have to blame the parents, because if a 13-year-old boy is committing crime, then the parents are to blame. The parents have lost the plot somewhere along the line. So if we're going to be serious about blaming Nigerians, especially young Nigerians, for crime, now it's not that you don't blame them at all, but you have to blame the government. You have to blame the leaders, because the leaders are the ones themselves who are stealing. They're stealing the commonwealth of the people. In Nigeria, a governor can be worth $100 million, a governor, a public official. And rather than looking for how to jail the governor, people will be praising the governor, they'll worship him, giving him an award and so on. These big criminals are the ones that the young people are copying. But those big criminals never get arrested because they can always settle. As they say in Nigeria, you go and settle. So let's blame the leaders first. Let's not always blame the followers, the young people. who many of them are living in poverty. If you're living on less than $1 a day, how do you expect these people to, when people are desperate, what do you think they're going to do? They will either commit a crime or they will flee, and many flee the country. Those who are not prepared to carry arms and start kidnapping, they head to the airport or the nearest land border and they flee the country. Some of them become victims of human trafficking themselves, especially young girls who want to go and work as helpers in Dubai and Saudi Arabia. They end up being raped or killed or maimed. So we have to attack the leaders, leadership. Is not serious about fighting crime at home and abroad. And the Nigerian leadership is not serious about creating the enabling environment for young people to get jobs after they leave the university system. They are not serious also about giving them some kind of buffer, like some kind of welfare package that we see in many countries, even in South Africa, where there's some kind of buffer, like what you see in Western Europe, in places like Scandinavia. How can somebody who's in their 20s be hungry? They have no job, and you expect them not to commit crime. So I think the Nigerian leadership is naive about crime. And the reason why they're also naive about crime and fighting crime is Nigeria. And I remember what Kofi Annan said. African leaders are wary of criticizing their neighbors, and Africans are wary of criticizing their leaders. Nigerians hardly criticize their leaders. Instead, they will go to church and pray from morning till night for solution. But they will see the leader doing the wrong thing, but they will never say a word, either out of fear or reverence for those who are in high office. And I think most of the time it's not about fear. It's just reverence for people who are in office. A governor is seen like a god, a mini god. It's only in Nigeria that you see a human being like yourself, but because they have money or because they're a governor or a politician or a pastor, you worship them the way you worship God. I think is wrong. I think Nigerians should change from worshiping human beings because they have material resources and position. We should change to worshiping God. And even when we worship God, we must also know that 90% of what we're going to become in this world is going to be determined by our environment and by our attitude. God is not going to come down to help anybody. As they say in the Bible, heaven helps those who help themselves. So those who are praying, they should pray, but prayer alone, it's not going to work. You've got to work hard and then pray on top of it. But for our people, they pray so hard and work very little, and they expect miracle. That's why they're going for Holy Ghost fire as well. Miracle every day. I mean, how can miracle happen every day? It's not possible. So we got to be realistic. We're a social, economic, religious being, but the most important thing is we must hold our leaders accountable. If we were holding our leaders accountable, in East London wouldn't have raised so much dust. But because Nigerians, they know that we don't hold our leaders accountable. South Africans are fully aware of that. And they also know that whilst we don't hold our leaders accountable, we also don't hold each other accountable. And that is also something else that South Africans are fully aware of. And that's why they screamed out loud, because they know that if they don't scream out loud, this thing can be happening every weekend. Because we will just bask in it. Nigerians will be basking in even things that they're not supposed to bask in, because we generally don't complain about each other.
All right. Thank you, Barrister ADETUNJI Omotola. Listening to you and also looking at the response from the NUCSA president, let me just bring this to the house. Let's discuss about us blaming the government for some of the behaviors of some of Nigerians, and also looking at what is happening in our community, the crime committed in our community, and we can't blame ourselves. Sometimes we cover ourselves and all that. If you want to put this in the context, What do we need to do as a community, as a people, as the leader, as the voice of the people? What else do we need to do to also fight this, and also to let our people know that speak out? If you see what is wrong in your community, speak out about it. What do we need to do? Do we need to create another association to address this? Because we have a lot of association within our community, but they are not actually adding any
No,
value.
what we need to do, my brother, what we need to do, let's be serious. Look, I'm a politician, I'm a media person, I'm in the wine space. I speak up, I speak regularly, I challenge people. Every Nigerian that has a voice must speak. Don't worry about the consequence of speaking. Speak your truth. Don't be afraid, especially women and young people. Forget about the men. The men largely are the ones who are crowding up space and sometimes getting the community into trouble. When you look at the people, Nigerians that have died in South Africa, I'm sure 99% are young men. I have not heard of a single Nigerian female who has been killed in a xenophobic attack or any other attack. So our men are the problem, and the men want to be macho about everything. And again, I'll go back to the issue. If you can't blame a politician who has stolen all your money, then you're not likely to blame somebody who is a community leader in your community. Maybe he's the one funding the organization, or sometimes you need him to give you 200 rand or whatever. A lot of these things is also linked to money. Most people, there's also these organizations are very hierarchical. They have president, they have secretary, they have chairman, board of trustees also, and they structure them according to like the political parties in Nigeria. They have, I mean, you can imagine a political party in diaspora saying that we have 16 positions vacant, and each of those positions people have to pay to pick up a form. It's a bloody joke. A political party with no physical address but wants to collect money for forms. They don't even have any social media footprint. But again, our people are naive. Our people are not informed. Our people are not active mentally. When I say mental activity, I'm not talking about work. I'm talking about intellectual. You've got to be intellectual to be able to challenge the status quo. If you're not reading or writing, how do you want to challenge anything? Because you have to read it first to be able to critique it, right? Then in your critique, you have to write to critique what you've read. But people are not interested. They are more interested in pepper soup and a foriro and pounded yam and chieftaincy. This is a chieftaincy that got somebody into trouble now. Chieftaincy, not doctorate, but chieftaincy. So you see that we are really not that deep. I will want to be getting into trouble for getting 2 PhDs at the same time. 2 PhD. Not for a chieftaincy title that is not going to add 1 rand to the economy of Nigeria. 1 single rand. You understand? If we want to test it, let's go and check that event. How much did they generate from that event? And how much of the money they generated is going towards motherless babies or orphans in East London, in the area? How many orphans are they going to take care of with the money? But if they did not generate any money for community development in that event, then it's unfortunate. So we have to tell each other the truth. Firstly, we have to identify that we're not special. No Nigerian is special, not even Aliko Dangote. Because sometimes we feel that we're better than others. We're not better. So no Nigerian is special. And no Nigerian, no matter how rich you are or how powerful you are, you're not better than the next person. Because we're all equal in the eyes of God, and every Nigerian has 1 vote, 1 man, 1. It doesn't mean that some Nigerians don't have special talents and all of that, but that's unique to Nigerians. Every human race, every country has people with talent. The fastest man in the world is not a Nigerian, it's a Jamaican. You understand? So we must be humble. Nigeria has never produced the fastest man in the world, or the fastest woman in the world, or the fastest Formula One car racing driver. We have not even produced Olympic gold in any event in the last 40 years or so. Olympic gold. We produce bronze. We've had world champion in Amuson, my sister from Ijebu-Ode, Amuson. have forgotten that first they are the hurdler. But we have not won an Olympic gold. Not going to the, we so arrogant, especially in another man's country. We have to tone it down. We can learn a lot from Zambians and Ghanaians how to be humble. In fact, we should write a book, How to Be Humble, so that Nigerians can know. It's not, who do you know me? Do you know who I am? Do you know how much money I have? You're a poor man, come on, get out of here. You know, all those things does not help us. It brings enemies to us, and we're not that successful. It's not that we're richer than Saudi Arabia or rich like Germany. We compare ourselves with African countries that have 2 million people or 5 million people. And in the whole of Africa, apart from Congo, Ethiopia, and Nigeria, there's no country that has a population of more than 100 million. So with our 200 and something million people, what have we done with it? And why are so many of our people still living outside our borders? Those are the things that we should have the conversation about, and we stop being arrogant.
All right. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. A lot of people are connecting. If you have a question to join this conversation, you can send it to our chat group, and also you can also drop it on our comment section, or you can call on +27842483384 to also be part of this conversation. Barrister Omotola, let's quickly divert a bit to some of the leaders that have passed on that we need to celebrate in the coming weeks or the coming months. Let's look at people like Kofi Annan. Your dad as well is one of the legends that we need to be celebrating. I think it's going to be 20 years that they have passed on, and that is Professor Omotola, the former VC of the University of Lagos. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about our good story. Let's talk about the leaders that have passed on. Let's talk about their contribution, and let's talk about why do we need to be celebrating them, and why is it important for us to also showcase them? Let's talk about that.
Okay. Well, let me first commend you for reminding us to celebrate our ancestors, our leaders, people who paved the way for us. I mean, the class that I'm even wanting to talk about today is the class of 1938. And that class of 1938, these are men, African men who were born across Africa in the year 1938. And many of them, if I mention them now, you know that they're very, very powerful, and they laid great foundations and legacy. So the first amongst them, of course, is Kofi Annan, first Black UN Secretary General from 1997 to 2006, when he died at the age of 80 in 2018 on August 18, 2018. He was exactly 80 years old and a few months. He died in Bern. At the time of his death, he was the chairman of elders, and the elders has members, people like Olusegun Obasanjo, former president of Nigeria, Strive Masiyiwa, billionaire telecoms magnate from Zimbabwe, Michelle, President Mandela's wife, and former First Lady of Mozambique, amongst many others on the elders. And of course, I'm actually mixing the elders with the Africa Progress Panel. President Obasanjo is not on the elders, he's on the Africa Progress Panel, and so is Madam Graça Machel. But the elders, you have presidents of countries, former presidents like Mary Robinson is one of the elders, and you used to have Desmond Tutu as one of the elders as well. And President Mandela was an honorary member of the elders. So forgive me for mixing up the elders with the Africa Progress Panel. But of course, the Africa Progress Panel was a panel of distinguished Africans, Strive Masiyiwa being one of them, who were helping to drive Africa's progress. And they will come up with a report every year to highlight the areas in Africa, whether it's in agriculture or aquaculture or mining, that Africans need to be busy with. And the report will be very detailed. But also, I want to talk quickly about another gentleman for the class of 1938, a gentleman by the name of Murtala Muhammad, Nigeria's fourth head of state, who was killed sadly in a coup, an abortive coup. The coup wasn't successful. That was on February 13, 1976. and it was exactly 34 days after he gave one of the biggest speeches ever given in African history, titled Africa Has Come of Age. He gave that speech at the OAU meeting, which was chaired and hosted by Idi Amin, the former dictator of Uganda. And in that speech, Murtala Mohammed spoke that Africa had come of age and we would no longer be bullied by any power, no matter how strong. Of course, some people believe that that was when he signed his death warrant, because you're going against America in those days of Cold War was a no-no. So Murtala Mohammed, the international airport in Lagos, is named after him, Murtala Mohammed Airport. He was on the saddle. He was head of state of Nigeria for only 200 days, but he had so much impact, especially on apartheid, fighting apartheid in Angola, in Mozambique, in South Africa, Libya, and elsewhere. Everywhere there was apartheid, even in Zimbabwe, Murtala Mohammed was on top of man. I believe Nigeria had its best foreign policy from 1975 to 1979 under Murtala Mohammed and Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, who later became President Thabo Mbeki's closest friend and partner in reshaping the African Union and bringing Africans together for about a decade in the early 2000s. So Gani Fahimi was one of the most powerful lawyers in Nigeria. He produced the Nigerian Weekly Law Report. He was a constitutional lawyer and a human rights activist par excellence. He died quite a while ago, but he was born on April 22nd, exactly 2 weeks after Kofi Annan, the UN Secretary General, 7th Secretary General. Then, of course, we have to talk about the Abami Eda himself, Fela Kuti. Fela Anikulapo Kuti was also born in 1938. He was born to a reverend father. He became a musician and a great icon for Afrobeat and African music. Fela lives on through his music, and his children, Femi and Shehu, are carrying on his legacy. They are also very well established in the music business. And last but not the least, my late father, Professor Jelili Adebisi Omotola, 7th Vice Chancellor. So in the same way that Kofi Annan, who was about 12 days older than my father, was the 7th UN Secretary General, my father was the 7th University of Lagos Vice Chancellor. My father was an academic, a very brilliant academic. He started picking up prizes from secondary school in Nigeria in the 50s. And then when he got to London, he picked up prizes as well in English law, English land law, and he wrote his bar exams and his masters in the same year in 1967, and then got a scholarship from the Western region of Nigeria for his PhD. Once done with his PhD in 1971, he moved back to Nigeria and first went to Ibadan, where he joined the Ministry of Justice, and then not so long after, he went to University of Lagos. I think he was poached by the university because of his prowess and academic brilliance. He died. He spent 3 years in South Africa at the University of Witwatersrand, where he authored a journal or an article for a journal, which on primogeniture and illegitimacy. And he was also a consultant for NEPAD, the New Partnership for African Development. And he died on March 29, 2006, which is 20 years tomorrow. So we're celebrating his memory and legacy tomorrow as a family. Prayers will be held in Isolo at number 24, Jelili Adebisi Omotola Street. My father remains an icon in university administration in Africa, but also one of the foremost brains in land law and the biggest critic of the Land Use Act, the biggest piece of land legislation in Nigeria.
All right. Okay. So what we need to look into is tomorrow, 29 March, as we are going to be celebrating. What are the things that you want to put on the spotlight for people to also celebrate tomorrow with you? Do you have any special program coming up? Do you have anything that you are doing special for him to remember his life and his contribution to humanity?
Yes. Look, for me, the most important thing to remember my father. I tell folks, pick up a book. I've written a book about my late father. It's on Amazon. It's called Memories of My Father. Memories. It's called Jelili Omotola, Memories of My Father. It's on Amazon. Pick up a copy. In fact, I sold 2 copies yesterday to Professor Shinubi. He's paid a handsome figure for them, and I'll be. What you can do for my late father's legacy is to pick up my book that I've written, or to contact me through African Portal for some of those articles that he has written on revocation of land, on forfeiture, on landlord and tenant, on customary tenancy, and many areas of land law that are critical, because a lot of people own property, but they don't understand property. Owning property doesn't mean you understand property. Property has a lot of legalities around it, in terms of title, in terms of occupation, possession, transfer, or even inheritance. So through my father's legacy, people can educate themselves about land law and property law and even company law, environmental law. My father straddled every area of property, what they call private and property law, or people would say simply land law, conveyancing, secured credit, and all of that. Legal drafting, all of that is in land law.
All right. For everyone that would like to also celebrate with you tomorrow, please be free to give your number out. Some people would like to call you to send you a message or condolences or all that. So kindly give your number to the listeners before we say goodbye.
Okay, you can reach me on South African number. Just send, please, you can send a voice note or a message. Please don't call because the line will be busy and I might not be able to answer too many people. So +2783 584 0694. I'll take it again. +2783 584 0694. I am Barrister ADETUNJI Omotola, son of Jelili Adebisi Omotola.
All right, everyone joining us. We have been spending about 45 minutes with these great leaders of our time, and also one of the voice for the voiceless in our community, Barrister ADETUNJI Omotola, is live on the African Portal talking about the issues happening around our community and also globally. And also we celebrate all the great leaders that have passed on from one of the powerful leaders that have spent so much effort to also build this great continent, Africa. That is Professor Jelili Omotola. And tomorrow is 29th. It's going to be 29 March. It's going to be 20 years exactly that it passed on into glory. So we are also going to be celebrating that in style on the African Portal. Thanks for your time, everyone joining us. Really appreciate it. Before we draw the curtain, we have 45 minutes for this program, and we're already on the 43 minutes. So before we draw the curtain for this weekend, we are coming back possibly next week or in 2 weeks' time. We are coming back. Barrister Omotola, what is your advice to our listeners, and what do you have for people listening to us for today?
Okay, so for me today, I want to talk about health-wise. Health is very important, guys. You need to strengthen your bones. You need to sleep well. You need to eat well, and you need to sit outdoors. I think I found the secret is sit outdoors as much as you can, not indoors. You need to see the sky. You need to be able to hear the birds and see the trees and get fresh air. Stop wasting your money on air conditioning. Sit outside, especially those who are in Nigeria, where the weather is always nice and hot. But make sure you have a drink, a nice drink if it's too hot. Maybe cold water, a beer, a glass of wine, champagne, whatever you drink. But above all, take care of your health, strengthen your bones, do your exercises. If you like walking, walk. If you like running, run. If you like lifting, but don't lift too heavy. And try and make sure that you balance everything. Don't overdo it, and don't get yourself injured because you want to have a body like a supermodel. I thank you.
All right, don't overdo it. Just go with your own limit. Don't say because somebody is doing it, you want to do it as well. So do it in your own limits. Thank you very much for joining us this hour. We really appreciate it. This is why we're going to be drawing the curtain. And thank you for coming out to be part of this conversation. We really appreciate your contribution to the community. And if you want to help the African Portal, you need to share this program and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also share it. It's available on our YouTube channel. We are building a community with you. We can do it. If you share this program and also subscribe to our YouTube channel, you are contributing to the growth of this great station, the African Portal, the voice of Africa. Thank you, Barrister ADETUNJI Omotola, for coming out. I really appreciate it.
Thank you too.
And God bless you.
And you too. Thank you too. God bless.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. This is where we're going to be drawing the curtain. See you again next week, and it's going to be a great time. Keep watching the African Portal. Keep sharing it. Love you all. Bye for now. From our studio here, goodbye.